Hey everybody, Irish Mike here, and today we're going to be doing a CastleVania Symphony of Night review. Well, let's get started with the story. As you can see, we started off fighting Lord Dracula as Riker Belmont. Riker is the current vampire slayer in this game, but he is not the main character. You kill Dracula right at the beginning, which is a different way to start a Castlevania game, but it's actually quite good. It sets the story for the main character in the game, who is investigating the reappearance of Lord Dracula Castle so soon after his death. So, who is this main character? Well, let's find out. Now we play as Alucard, Lord Dracula's son. He is investigating the reappearance of the castle and the rumors that Riker is missing. Alucard is half human and half vampire. His mother was killed by humans, though he harbors no grudge against them. He is a true badass, unlike some other sparkly vampires we now know. While in the castle, Alucard comes across another human named Maria. She is here to destroy the castle like us, but there's more to it than that. Once again we meet Maria. She has the most reoccurring scene than anyone else, and most of the storyline is through her. This time we learn that the castle is different than before, and that she's actually been here before, which makes us wonder when and why. And now, after a quick boss fight, we meet Maria. But this time, we finally get some answers. She tells us that about a year ago is when Riker went missing, and that she's convinced that he's here in this castle, and so she asks us for help. And, like a true gentleman, we oblige. And after that, she gives us a backhanded compliment. Ouch. And so after that, the search is on for Riker. And so, after fighting all the way through the castle, we find this guy claiming to be Lord of the castle. But, by the smell of his blood, it leads us to believe that he's a Belmont. Could he be the one we're looking for? So, as soon as we dispatch of his minions, it's time to confront him and see what's behind it all.
I'm certain that was a Belmont. So he says he's the lord of this castle. I've been waiting for you. So it is you. But why is a Belmont planning the resurrection of Count Dracula? Count Dracula rises but once every century, and my role is over. If I can resurrect him, then the battle will last for eternity.
Well guys, I hate to say it, but we only have one choice. To kill him. He has chosen a life of war and death, to bring back Dracula, and have an eternal fight so he can have glory. Regretful? I know. But justice must prevail, and the unrighteousness must be burned in a cleansing fire. So, with a heavy heart, we will carry out our duty.
It's over, Belmont.
Well, that concludes this review. Wait, what? What are you talking about? No, it's over. What? There's more? Seriously? Alright, really? Alright. Well guys, apparently I missed some stuff. So this is what we really gotta do. Alright guys, seeing that we apparently have to do this the right way, we need to be looking for a purple casket to sleep in. Now, after doing this, like any other save, you'll be teleported to the dream world. In the dream world, you'll meet your mother, which actually turns out to be a succubus. Shortly after trying to kill the succubus, you will be transported out of the dream world where you'll find a golden ring. This ring is vital for getting the rest of this game. You have to pick this up, please don't forget it. And so, our search for the next ring has led us to Maria, and after breaking the bad news that her boyfriend's a psychopath, she drops the next ring. So, we go and pick it up, and we'll be on our way. Now with both rings, we can head to the clock tower and go to the Vaulting Path. After we get there, we find Maria, and she says she has seen Riker and that he is now with the enemy. So, after talking to her, we get the Holy Goggles, which will allow us to see the curse that has been placed upon Belmont. And so, we try this one more time. Now with the Holy Goggles equipped, we can see what's going on. You'll see a green orb above Riker that you must always attack without trying to kill him. After that, a person named Shaft will appear, the Dark Priest who's been behind this the whole time, trying to resurrect Lord Dracula and using Riker to do it to make sure that no one could defeat him. Well, and now with that, we unlock the second part of the game. Now, unfortunately, this part of the game doesn't have near as much storyline to it. Pretty much just the last boss does, but it is one of the harder places, and personally, some of my favorites. There's a lot of interesting enemies there that we'll see in a little bit. Well, enjoy the cinematic, and next, we will fight the final boss. And now, after collecting the 5 parts of Vlad, you can finally fight the last boss, which is Shaft. Honestly, he's pretty easy as long as you stay in the corner. He can't really hit you with any of his balls. Now, for the final boss, Lord Dracula. Now, I recommend staying on the sides because he will do swipe attacks which will do quite a bit of damage. Now, about the storyline on this game, I really like the storyline, seeing that you play through most of it and the levels themselves actually kind of tell you the storyline. But it is kind of short, which is one of its downfalls, and after you played it a couple times, you can pretty much run through the game pretty easily. So, think of it what you will. I personally like it, but it is kind of short, but to each his own. Well, that's all for the storyline, and next we are going to review the gameplay. When you start the game, the first thing you notice is how tight the controls are. Very responsive, giving combat a nice smooth feeling. Combat is different in this game than more so than any other CastleVania game, more RPG-ish with many weapons, items, and levels. As you can see, this CastleVania game is actually quite RPG-ish, giving us a lot of stats, which I really like about the game. It also gives us a lot of weapons and items, anywhere from maces to two-handed swords and shields, and armor on this game. And it's not just limited to that, seeing that we're a vampire and not just a human, there's actually quite a bit of spells and abilities which we'll be going over now. The first spell is Hellfire, which will teleport you and shoot 3 fireballs damaging an enemy, but each fireball can only hit one thing before disappearing. This version of Hellfire is actually a lot better, seeing that it actually stays and doesn't disappear after hitting an enemy, creating some really good circumstances and even one-shotting some bosses, as so. One of the things making Hellfire such a great ability that you can actually time your teleportations to land right on top of monsters, hitting them multiple times, even one-shotting some of the earlier game bosses, making it a good spell to get down, and one that you might want to keep in your arsenal. The next spell we're going to use is Summon Spirit. Now, this spell is good for sniping, but it does relatively weak damage. It's good at the beginning, but you won't be using it much later on. Now, there is another spell that we can use that's a bit better, and that is Trio Spirit. Now that summons 4 spirits at the same time. It costs 4 time MP though, but if you got the mana reserved, I suggest using it just because it closes the screen a lot faster. This next spell is Dark Metamorphosis. Every time you shed blood from an enemy, you will regain some health. But the catch is, it must be blood. If you hit a skeleton, you won't regain any life. Now, this thing has a relatively low mana cost, so it's actually not that bad to use, but there's not too many blood shedding enemies in this game. Now the next move I'll be showing you is Soul Steal, and that is the move that you'll probably be spamming the most to get health. Soul Steal is an ability that will drain health from everything on the screen and giving it to you. It's a good thing to use in a pinch, but it has a very heavy MP cost, so use it wisely. Now don't think we're just limited to spells here. We can actually transform into creatures, starting with the wolf, which can swim in water and use super speed. Next up is the bat, which of course can obviously fly and use its sonar to see in the dark. You can also shoot fire, and if you're good, you can actually put off a dash attack to down an enemy. Next up is one of my personal favorites, the mist. Now, this is the yellow mist, which is poison that can actually damage enemies, making it a really easy way to pass through and also gather some MP. Now, the other two have specials also, the dash and the super one, which we'll see now. The first one I'm going to show you is the Wolf Dash. Now, the Wolf Dash makes it where the longer it goes, the faster it gets, and also damages enemies while going through them. It's really good to get through the castle and to also damage some enemies while doing it. It's also pretty good to get away with, but I personally like the bats, so here we go. Now, Wing Smash doesn't have to charge up its speeds, it starts fast right off the bat, making it the better move in my opinion, but it's all up to you, it's personal choice. Now that we're done with the spells and abilities, the next thing I want to talk about is the game's atmosphere. Now, this game has great atmosphere. It has great scenery and great music, which makes every place that much more memorable. Every time you hear one of the songs, you will remember that zone and probably what you were doing in it while your first time playing through it. My favorite, for example, is the Upside Down Ice Cave, which I think has the best music out of all of them. Here, just listen for yourself. As you can see, the soundtrack makes each zone that much more memorable, really adding to the atmosphere and making this game just so memorable. Another great thing about this game is all the boss fights. Now each boss fight is very different from each other and really interesting, with also some pretty creepy designs. Now I'm going to show you a few of them, and also some of the ones that I dislike and the ones I like the most, so here we go. Alright, the first boss up, and probably a tie for the second creepiest monster in this game, is Grand Floon. Now, this boss is nothing but a bunch of bodies and a core. Now, the more body parts that he has on him, the little corner pieces, the more he spawns. So, any normal person would think that I should kill those and stop spawning and it'll be a lot easier, right? Well, that's where we're actually wrong. Now, apparently the game designers decided to be giant jerks with this guy, so like any normal kid when I was young, I would attack the pieces away thinking I was doing the right thing, get hit by the occasional laser, but no real big deal because I always was over leveled when I was playing these games. So, I'm carrying on minding my own business thinking he's almost dead with only 2 parts left, is when they decide to throw a giant curveball at me. So, I finally defeated it all. Feeling so happy for myself, getting ready to finish it off, then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it starts shooting lasers like craziness, and there's no way to dodge them, you just can't do it. Now, the way you need to do it is just attack one side of it, and then focus on the core after that, do not destroy all the body parts. But, if it's your first time, I really understand making this mistake. I did it as a kid, and I almost died here just trying to show you guys it. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you the first place creepiest design winner, Beelzebub. Now, this guy is pretty hard, even though he himself actually doesn't really attack. His flies do a good amount of damage and they kind of swarm you. And as you can see, I really did not take my time with him as I wanted to kill him right away, because this guy is creepy. I mean, a dangling body with hooks and chains is enough to give any kid's nightmare, so yeah, he wins #1 in creepiest design ever reward. Even though he's not really that hard if you did what I did and kind of cheated with the shield rod, this guy is kind of disturbing to say the least, so he wins creepiest design hands down. Congratulations. Alright guys, seeing that we got the 2 ugly boss battles out of the way, let me show you one of my favorites. The reason why I like this guy so much is because you get to break his table, and that's just about all there is to it. I mean, he's a pretty cool character and his design is pretty awesome, and how he's also a vampire. But the reason why I like him is just because of that. He offers you a seat and you break his table, and I do it every time. He transforms into obviously a giant green thing about halfway through, and the fight gets a lot tougher. He constantly using fire beams and everything to try to hit you, along with fireballs that can be blocked with your shield. Now, the annoying thing about him is that sometimes you can get trapped in a corner and it will do a lot of damage to you. But here's my favorite part about him right now. When you kill him, his death animation is hilarious. I mean, it's not too funny really, but it really reminds me of Super Metroid, of when you kill that dinosaur by the lava pit and the skeleton comes after you. And that's really the only reason I like this boss. Alright guys, this is the last boss I'll be showing, Sayla. Now, the reason why I'm showing her last is because this is the boss when I was young that I had the most trouble with, and haunts my childhood dreams till this day. Now, the reason why I have so much problem with it is not because it's hard, is that there's actually just so much going on. From having to try to dodge the bubble and the 3 heads and that scythe and water ball you shoot out on top of rocks. Now, I used to do this by doing a glitch where sometimes you would fall behind her and just keep on attacking her, but I don't really have problems with that anymore. But when I was younger, I just could not beat her, and I would always either skip her or save her till last till I was over leveled. And that rounds up all the boss segments I'm going to do, so how about we round up this review with a final tally of what we got, and then a score. Well, let's find out. Alright guys, now what you get with this game is tight controls, smooth gameplay, great combat, awesome boss battles, and sweet music and atmosphere. A real great game and very memorable. Those are a few things that you get, those are the pros. Now, some of the cons of this game are that it can be too easy, and if you try to rush it, you can actually beat the game in probably under an hour if you know some of the secrets, but that can make it a bit short. Now, another few complaints that I heard about it is that it's too Super Metroid-ish, also known as Metroidvania, but I don't really view that as a bad thing. Now, I love that they put RPG elements on here and it's not a traditional CastleVania game, but the franchise was evolving and it was taking a step forward, and I think in the right direction. That's just my personal opinion, and I would like to hear yours too, but I really like how they did this, more open it is, and all the secrets and everything. If you try to do everything and try to get the over 200%, you'll play this game for about 20 hours, at least I did, and the replays of it are quite fun also. I constantly find ways to try to handicap myself, like try to only beat all the bosses with just spells, or try to beat bosses with just melee or unhanded, or even just trying to do the drop kick on them over and over to beat every single boss. So, needless to say, I got my money's worth out of this, and I think you will too, giving this game a solid rating of 8 out of 10. Easily worth the $5 on PlayStation Network Shop, or if you can get the PSP version, or what I would really prefer is the disc, just for a collector's item. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I just want to say it's been really fun making this, and there's the bonus. After this video goes up, about a week later, I'll be making a speedrun of this, so I hope you all come and watch that also. This has been the Irish Mike, hoping that you guys will be here next time, and hoping that you guys like and subscribe. Goodbye.